All right, greetings, everyone. Chosen and Unfrozen. This is Martin here. All right. This is going to be short yet sweet. All right. Short yet sweet. Okay. Forgive, however, don't relive. Forgive, however, don't relive. All right. You're going to know exactly what I'm saying. I'm coming from the Bible. Mark chapter 11. I'm going to read verses 24, 25, and 26. Written in red so we know who's speaking. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. And when ye stand praying, forgive, if you have aught against any, that your Father which is also in heaven may forgive you your trespasses. But if ye do not forgive, neither will your Father which is in heaven forgive your trespasses. Okay, so this word forgive, which is mentioned 4 times in Mark 11, 25, and 26, 2 times Mark 11, 25, 2 times in Mark 11 and 26. So that word forgive, let's look up exactly what that word is. Let's break it down. I'm going to the concordance. I'm not going to Webster's English Dictionary. I'm going to the concordance, right? And in the Strong's Hebrew and Greek concordance, it's referenced as number 863. So let's go to the Greek. 863, and it's the Greek word aphiemi. Aphiemi, right? Aphiemi, I believe that's the way it's pronounced, okay, is defined as to send, right? By extension, a form of to go, to send forth in various applications as follow: cry, forgive, forsake, lay aside, leave, let alone, be, go, have. Reminds me of Frozen, let it go, right? Omit, put, send away, remit, suffer, yield up. All right. That just came to me about the movie Frozen. Children's movie Frozen. All right. Let it go. So forgive. All right. So if I'm going to forgive you, I have to let it go. Whatever it was, whatever the trespass was, whatever happened to hurt me, wherever it was, I have to let it go. I have to forgive you of it. I have to squash it. Right. It's over and done with. Okay. I have to forgive you if I want to be forgiven. Right. Now, it says forgive 4 times. We don't see the other F word in here. The other F word meaning forgets. I've heard that so many times through the years. Forgive and forget, forgive and forget, forgive and forget, forgive and forget. It's not written here, all right? It's not written here to forgive and forget. It's written here to forgive, okay? Because if I forget, that means I forget about my trespasses. If I forget about my trespasses, right, then what can I expect to be forgiven of? I have to forgive you of your trespasses so that I can be forgiven of my trespasses. However, if I forgive and forget, right, then I've forgotten about my trespasses, right? I have to be aware of my trespasses just as I have to be aware of your trespasses against me, right? But I have to forgive you. I can't hold on to it. I can't hold on. Oh man, he did me that way, such and such year, this and that. Okay. I'm not holding on to it. I forgave you. Whatever the reason was, either it was something I allowed you to do or it was something that you did without me having knowledge of what you was going to do to me. Right. But either way, I forgive. I haven't forgotten about it. Right. People say that all the time. Well, if you really truly forgave, you would forget about it. Okay. Abuse comes in 3 different forms. It comes in the form of physical, it comes in the form of sexual, and it comes in the form of psychological, right? When people have been sexually abused, people have spoken out very bravely, very boldly, what an individual has done to them to violate them sexually, how they were sexually abused by a family member, a uncle, a daddy, a brother, a sister. They spoken out very bravely, very boldly that this is what this individual did to me. However, I forgive them of what they did to me. Okay? If you forget, where's the testimony at where you can encourage others? If you have forgiven this individual, they can too. All right? They can too. Okay? So we have to forgive, but nowhere is it written that we have to forget. Now, let me break it down in an example. This is how the Spirit gives it to me, right? Okay. If somebody was to punch me in my eye, right? I forgive them. Okay? If somebody was to punch me in my nose, I am to forgive them too, right? Somebody was to uppercut me in the jaw, I forgive them of that. I have to. Somebody was to punch me in my solar plexus in my chest, I had to forgive them of that. Somebody was to punch me in my ribs, I had to forgive them of that, right? Now, here's what people will do, which is so wicked, which is so evil. I know I'm going to help somebody today because I've been through this before, right? You get tired of the punches and you say, the punches is going to end. You're not going to punch. I'm not going to allow you to punch any part of my body anymore, right? That's standing up boldly. That's standing up for yourself. That's setting your boundaries. And you're saying you're not going to allow this to happen anymore, right? This abuse is not going to continue, right? Here's what the abuser would do. The abuser will accuse you and might even get some other people along with them. See, you don't forgive. You know full well what the Bible says, but you ain't forgave. Really? Just because I've made up in my mind and in my heart that I'm not going to allow the abuse to continue, you're accusing me of not forgiving you. No, we're not going to go there. We're not going to do that one. Don't play with me like that. And anybody out here who's listening to this video, don't let anybody play with you like that. Stop the abuse, right? Forgive, however, don't relive. Because if you just let somebody just continually abuse you and you say, I'm going to forgive them, 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 what have you learned from it? Why are you being subjugated to this abuse, right? Was you put here on this planet to be continually violated, continually abused and used by this person? No, you were not. It's got to stop somewhere. I forgave you for punching me in the eye, right? But just because I block and don't allow you to get to my nose, don't accuse me of not forgiving you for hitting me in the eye. It's just that I've learned my lesson. I'm better now. I'm wiser now. I know not to let you get that close to me anymore. I know not to let you get away with what you thought you could get away with previously. Okay? We are not to be doormats as born again believers. We're not to be just kicked around and used and abused by the world, right? I know what somebody is saying. You're supposed to forgive your brother 70 times 7. But what they forget about is, that's subject for another lesson, right? But what they forget about in there is, that says your brother. Everybody's not your brother, right? Everybody's not your sister, right? So you're supposed to forgive, whether it's your brother, whether it's not. Whether it's your kinsman, your countrymen, your fellow citizen, whoever the case might be, your family, your brother, your mama, your daddy, your sister, whoever the case might be, we have to forgive. We are ordered to forgive. We have to forgive if we want to be forgiven, right? But nowhere does it say we are supposed to let the same thing just continue on, right? Okay? Here's what happens when you're being abused. When you're being abused, and you allow the abuse to continue, you know what you're setting yourself up to do? You're giving people a pass, and you're also convincing, but you're convincing yourself in your own mind that the abuse is proper. The abuse is what's supposed to happen. And you even get to a point to where the abuse starts to feel good. You expect the abuse. And when you don't get the abuse from that abuser, what you do is you go find somebody else who's going to abuse you either the same way or abuse you even worse. And that's a terrible place to be in, where you're going to be victimized for the rest of your life. That is not what anybody was put on this planet for, is to be a victim. You're put on this planet to go through things. There is sin in this world. So you're going to be abused, some form or fashion. Everybody has been. If you haven't already, you will be abused either physically, sexually, or psychologically. Psychologically is always the most common because that comes in the form of bullying. So everybody who, unless you've been, homeschooled or whatever, you still got to face some type of bullying. You're going to encounter that somewhere, somehow, right? So psychological abuse is always the most common. I'm not saying that sexual abuse doesn't happen, because heck yeah, it happens. I'm not saying physical abuse doesn't happen, because heck yeah, it happens. You know what I'm saying? But psychological abuse, everybody's going to go through that, especially in their childhood, right? But then there's people who have been through all three, right? So for you to have a testimony to help somebody else, you have to learn to break the cycle of abuse. And how to break the cycle of abuse is to say, you're not standing for the abuse no more. That don't mean I don't forgive you. That just means I'm not going to let you do me like you used to do me. I'm not going to let you do me like you're used to doing me. I'm not going to allow you just to have your way with me. I don't belong to you like that. So when we forgive, we set ourselves free. We have our freedom when we forgive, right? Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Don't hold on to it. Forgive. Forgive. However, don't relive. Don't keep on reliving the same thing where you didn't learn your lesson because you have it set in your mind. Incorrectly, I might add, that forgiveness is part of just allowing the same behavior to go on. No, that's a bunch of mess. That's a bunch of hogwash. Don't play with me like that. Don't let nobody play with you like that. You don't let that cycle of abuse go on. You stop it. You nip it in the bud. Yes, you forgive. However, you don't relive. You don't relive that same thing. You don't relive it. You stop it. All right? You see where you went wrong. You see what the mistake was. Okay? Either you got a problem or they got a problem. Right? 9 times out of 10, the abuser has the problem. But if you allow the abuse to continue, then it's you that has the problem, not just the abuser, because you're feeding the abuser exactly what they want. Okay? Abusers can't operate unless they have somebody to victimize. That's what they feed off of. So what we have to do is we have to forgive them, but then we have to starve them. Okay? We forgive, however, we don't relive. All right? I know this helps somebody out there today. I know this helps somebody out there today. All right? Forgive, however, don't relive. Don't allow it to continue. Stop it. All right? Stop it. You're better than that. You're worth more than that. You're more valuable than that. Love yourself first. Don't allow yourself to be used and abused and trampled on. Right? It's the abuser who don't love themselves. That's why they need somebody to abuse. That makes them feel good. But when you cut off their food supply, they'll starve to death. Just forgive them. Forgive them. Pray for them. Right? Take it to the Father in prayer. Pray for them in the name of the Son. Be led by the Spirit. Pray for them. Right? Forgive. However, don't relive. This is Martin. Shalom.